I'm going to be doing a bullet journal spread inspired by 17's newest album cover for your choice. I know it's a little late for June, but hopefully this bullet journal spread still helps and you can do it in July if you want. So to start off, I'm writing down June 2021, and the font I'm using for June is similar to the one on the actual album. So it's like a really nice, minimal, cursive, swoopy type font. I decided to take inspiration from like the paint vibes that were going on, and they reminded me of those Pantone paint chip things. So I'm just kind of making little squares and I'm placing them in approximately the same-ish spot that they were placed on the album cover. So you can see I have like a little orangish yellow color. I also have like the white, and I have an actual orange color that I'm coloring with. So that way it's like the same color palette almost, but it's much easier to imitate than trying to replicate those brush strokes on the actual album. So you can see I have one side done, and on the next side I'm using the colors purple, blue, and green. So for this spread, I didn't really want to do the gray color because I thought that gray is a little boring. So I'm just using the fun colors, and it has like nice sunset-ish vibes going on. It's very bright, sunny, very appropriate for summer, so I really like it. And yeah, hopefully these kind of look like the Pantone paint chips. I'm not trying to do anything super complicated, but they do look like Pantone paint chips to me, and they're really easy to draw too, so I'm not complaining. So once those paint chips are done, that kind of, wraps up like the main artistic part of this bullet journal spread. Underneath that, I'm just writing a few goals I have for the month of June so I can, cross them off as I go. That's something that I've been doing in my bullet journal spreads for this year. Unlike last year where I only did weekly spreads, this year I've been doing like one monthly page, and the rest are just weekly spreads like usual. Because, the monthly spread pages are like fun to do, and I get to use my artistic abilities in some way, like my limited abilities. And for this part, I'm using a kind of typewriter-ish font just because I thought it looks really nice and it added an interesting touch without being, too much, so it didn't overpower the minimal cursive at the top. It also looked pretty similar to the other fonts that they used on the cover. And yeah, I'm just writing down my goals underneath that. After the goals, I'm also writing down track list so I can fill it in after the 16th. Once the album comes out. And at the very bottom, I'm also going to leave a bunch of space for my monthly reflection. So now we're on to the weekly spread, and for the weekly spread, it's fairly similar to the monthly spread I just did. So once again, I'm writing June at the top in the cursive font, and underneath that, I'm writing week 1 in a normal uppercase letters font. And then underneath that, I'm actually still continuing the paint chips theme, except this paint chip is much bigger, as you can see, and in the little gap, the white gap, usually on the Pantone paint chips, they like to write down the color. For me, I just wrote down to do because I'm on summer vacation. I don't really have a lot of like weekly assignments or anything that's due. So the to-do list is something that usually works best for me during the summer because it keeps me organized. And then at the bottom, I'm just writing the days of the week in little squares. In their own Pantone chips that are much smaller, and that's just because if something does come up that's like a little time critical, I can write it down on the side and I'll still have enough space for my to-do list at the top. So you can see me just making little squares in the different colors that I used in the first page of this month and writing down the days of the week, and that basically concludes my bullet journal spread. It's quite simple, but I really like the colors. I think they're very nice, and I also think that, this will help keep me organized without being too overwhelming because Obviously, it's summer, so I don't want to stress myself out too much. And yeah, that's really it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye!